Hello, and welcome back to Minotaur Hotel. We're here again with the shaking Asterion. Isn't that cute?
It will not be necessary, Master. I don't need the wine. I can heal just fine on my own. It will just take a little longer. Besides, we have other priorities. We made progress on the internet project yesterday. Surely this will just distract us.
But this is urgent.
We have a dilemma in our hands, then. If we have to choose between one or the other, I suggest we focus on the internet project.
Wait a minute. Maybe we can multitask.
Multitask.
Yes, we have you, Luke, and me. Maybe we can split the task between us three. Asterion flinches.
I would very much prefer not to be sent to the valley, Master. Besides, I had a conversation with Kota. I know he is upset with Luke, but maybe he can help with the other task. I know he has his issues, but after last night...
Oh, did I do this? Okay. We'll skip the tutorial. Wait, I do this, right? Oh, shit, though. What is it? Wait, well, like I'm meant to send Asterion out, right? In order to do thing.
Master, are you sure you want to send me to the valley?
Of course.
Very well. I will do as you command.
With the four of you assigned to your roles, you bid Luke farewell. You bid Luke farewell as Asterion. Kota and you head towards the staircase leading to the valley. Okay. How much is this going to be the same? You try striking up a conversation with Kota, but he is not very communicative. Asterion, walking behind you with a miserable look on his face, seems to have soured the dragon's mood. The long and arduous hike ahead of you, and the sweltering sun which refuses to yield, don't help much either. One can't keep talking for long under these circumstances. You settle into a rhythm, and you fall into a trance. Leave a place unattended for too long, and something thicker than silence takes root. It burrows itself and leaves only its eyes open, peeking from the sand. Right. However, for Asterion, it's a different story. The same stones on which you balance threatens to topple him, as if pushed by some unseen force, and when climbing hills to soil under his hooves, crumbles and makes him slip. Every few steps, Asterion jolts in fright as snakes and scorpions emerge from the holes and crevices to crawl towards him. It is not long before his ankles become covered in hives and rashes from contact with poison ivy, while you remain fine even if you touched the same plants. When you stop to catch your breath for a few minutes, the Minotaur makes it a point to remain pacing about. Otherwise, his hooves would be ensnared by some reaching roots and branches or brushes nearby. And when you crest the top of the hills and dunes, the hills and dunes, or pass under gnarled trees, birds swoop down to peck him. Hornets buzz around, waiting for an opportunity to sting him. Maggots drop from rotted wood to land upon his neck. And yet, so far, you have seen nothing alarmingly dangerous. No monstrosities running towards him, not even Argos himself. Asterion walks away and hides in the shadows of one of the kilns. He remains silent, while Kota investigates. Okay.
Now that you have the essentials, perhaps it would be more prudent if you were to head back to the hotel while Asterion and I explore the rest of this place.
You sure you guys can handle it?
Mr. Josh, please. I'm an avid, experienced traveler. I may look out of place in these situations, but trust me, I am more comfortable than I look. You wouldn't believe the things I run into in my travels. And I am sure Asterion has been through worse.
If you insist, Kota, I appreciate it. Oh, right, before I forget, Argo said something about looking behind the kiln. You might want to check that out.
We will see to it.
Okay. You also think about Asterion and wonder if he's doing alright. After a while, you decide to go check your team's progress. Okay, no project was completed. Whoops. Let's check in on the other team, yeah. One raw material, okay. Oh, it looks like you found something else. You've encountered a goatskin-bound notebook containing handwritten poetry. You can read it by opening the files menu. By the way, did you get a chance to look behind the kiln? Okay. You obtained the thing, okay. Asterion, however, sits alone at the bar. He just nurses his drink while Luke tries to keep some small talk going. You get distracted with your own meal, and all the people around you vying for your attention. The time passes quickly, and before you notice it, people are already returning to their rooms. It is then that you realize Asterion is nowhere to be seen. You ask around if anyone's seen him, but he seems to have slipped away while everyone was distracted. After a fruitless search around the hotel, you return to your quarters and go to bed. Yeah, that's fine. Oh, is this oh, okay. So, we are a little tight on time and resources. Today is our last chance to get the bottle. We need to sacrifice the bundle we found yesterday somewhere in the labyrinth. And we still have the internet issue to solve. Greta mentioned yesterday that we needed to rewrite 5 contracts and complete 5 tech. So far we have 4 and 5, respectively. Okay. And so far as the bottle is concerned, Asterion. Okay, wait, so we have 4 contracts. Luke has 1 contract, right? So we can still keep. And as far as the bottle is concerned,
well, there's 3 spots that should be surveyed, and 3 artifacts necessary. So far, we have 1 and 2, respectively.
If everyone is okay with it, we can spread our resources like we did yesterday. Should I assume you two don't want to work together again? Nah, don't worry about it. Okay. Man, do I have to be nice? And do this? Fuck. That's sad. I want to get the internet up and running. But if I do this... I need 3 surveying, right? So that doesn't give me anything. Okay, Asterion, we'll be kind to you today. Maybe just today. Alright, so I assume...
Yes, let me see if I can recall the instructions. The network is Minotaur Hotel. And the password is...
Asterion thinks for a couple of seconds with a strained expression, but then just points towards a strip of paper on the table. You pick it up and it says... Huh, not letting me skip. But I know I've read this dialogue. Okay. Okay, we're going to have to change that.
That would be for the best. She carefully detailed how to do it in one of these documents.
So, Minotaur Hotel. Okay, that's memorable at... Yeah, that's memorable at... and to the point, I suppose. You log in, and for the first time in a while... Yeah, okay, so we can... Whoa. There is a delay. He hesitates. Even if no words cross his mind, he knows it. The Minotaur's index finger rests on the lyre's strings, stroking it up and down, feeling the hum vibrating against his hand. He plucks the string. The note jumps from the string to air, then crawls into his ear, drips down into his mind. And there's the delay. There is a gap between action and reaction. Tonight the world feels sluggish to the Minotaur, and he looks out to the desert below. The land with which he is so familiar, and which the new master reacclimated him with. His fingers stroke the string up and down. He's looking out, to the hills and the valleys, to the seam between land and sky, to the thousands of dots above. He commands his fingers to pluck the strings. Oh, excuse me. But there is a delay. His movements are sluggish, and his thoughts, his eyes look towards the darkness, the blackness. Plucked, the sounds crawled up, and under most circumstances, it would spark a sense of comfort in his mind. But there is a delay. Asterion drags a finger over the strings. He hooks it with a fingernail, plucks it out, feels that unbearable tension, anticipation, and snapping. There is a gap between ordering his hand not to let go and that cracking whip against his ear. His other hand squeezes the lyre handle, and nails dig into his flesh. There's a delay between feeling them digging in and that dull, familiar agony. Asterion drags a finger over the lyre's strings, anticipating the approaching footsteps of the master. He looks outside but sees nothing, and in fact, itself seems mushy. This time the string stings against his finger, because it has rubbed his fingertip raw. He hooks a nail to the string, pulls, and notices that either his nail or the cord will snap. He plucked the string, and there is a delay. How long has this wretch been doing this?
What nonsense! Bland indulgence. Whining. And... just whining.
He's throwing a temper tantrum, sitting at the porch, plucking that same string again and again. He used to do it as a child, too. But then he'd be lectured about it, told so by his wet nurse.
What nonsense! Bland indulgence, whining, and...
Then he was shipped off to the labyrinth. With this, a lyre sneaked in, ready to be plucked time and time again. Until it snapped, one night when he and Laomedon talked. He ruminates upon thoughts and memories. Did his guest ever mutter under his breath those same words? Whatever answer could run across his mind, it does not matter. There is no place for anything except the absolute certainty that, yes, Laomedon did believe that.
What nonsense. Bland indulgence, whining in.
A monody that he could bellow. He only muttered. A turgid, timidity keeps him from ever holding the pitch. Despite the delay, he plucks the string, now stained black and red, and the labyrinth from his youth, the one with the shrine at its heart and walls thrice his height, muddles and shifts. A new one crawls up from the depths of Tartarus. He hears old gods muttering their curses, toying with his life thread, and the crackling of the fates in the distance. Cackling, that's what that said. He plucks the string and cannot help but think how easily one could get lost among a pile of disheveled scraps of fabric. Strings and cloth coil it, and a ball of yarn out of it. It will guide you through.
What nonsense! Bland indulgence, whining in.
Straightening it, tie it in the pegs, tighten, pluck the strings with the delay, and it hammers in your mind against that mushy brain of yours.
What nonsense! A bland indulgence, whining in.
And then thousands of centuries of a new labyrinth. Now he's here, today, after 80 years locked in a cold room, whining because the master sent him to the valley.
What nonsense! Bland indulgence, whining in.
Is that so bad? What can befall him that hasn't occurred 1,000 times over? Pain is such a fragile thing. Grit your teeth and bear it. Let it come. And be allowed to be allowed even a moment of safety, such as this one, is reason enough to be grateful. Cease your whining. Whatever incursion this master commands are nothing compared to that what once was. Let a fiend take an arm, a leg. There is still nothing more than a scratch.
What nonsense! Bland indulgence, whining in.
He stops. The delay has lessened. He realizes, even for words still escape him. He also gasps. The tightness in his chest has had shallowed his breath so. He only now notices the tension in his jaw and a dizziness in his head. But that brings a new wave of turmoil. As the Minotaur's mind sets itself back in shape, bit by bit, old pains crawl up from the darkness. His stomach fills itself with fire, roiling and boiling, threatening to crawl its way up his throat. The pressure from his stomach smothers his own lungs and keeps him in a breathless state, struggling to expand his chest. He suffocates when he thinks of anything but his breath. He raises his hand to his cheek and holds it there. His thumb digs in under his jaw harder. His throat dries and...
What nonsense! Bland indulgence, whining in.
And he breathes with his tongue out. Figure hunched over to contain his nausea, but none of this will stop his innards from being pecked away as they are now. He rises and lumbers. Between every step, a stiff and concentrated breath, slowly over to his bedroom, the tiny box of drywall. With the lumbering gait, supporting his weight on each leg in succession, his horns sway and hit the wall of the hallway. He snorts. His hand returns to his cheek, his thumb under his jaw. He could tear his mandible off, but only drags himself forward like a punished child. He crosses the threshold, closes the door. It simmers. The acid churns in his stomach, crawls up his dried and now closed throat. His teeth indent his tongue with while nausea swirls and thrashes inside him. Words have long failed the Minotaur, but now more than ever, the Hydra spews venom inside of him, It cannot be tamed or killed, for with each beheading, its poison stings forth with renewed vigor. But the Minotaur can drown it. He knows it may never. It may return, but he can drown in it for now. He can stop tensing against the impulse now that he is alone. The wretch raises his hands to the off-white ceiling, to the single flickering lamp, like a mourner locked in wailing, and brings them back down. One strikes his face, the other grasps and stirs his own horns. He pulls and pries until he hears a crack. He grunts and pulls himself into the air to try to tug bone from bone or brain from body. His head shakes and tries to pull away from his own grasp. Pulling, he slaps his snout harder, closed fist. He nearly bruises his knuckles, punching towards his horns. A few times he clips his jaw. He pulls his horns pulls his horns again, and nostrils flaring as he swings his head around like a rodeo. Yet with each tug, a member of the screaming crowd of his thoughts leaves or is seated. It becomes a rhythmical affair, as the Minotaur rides himself, synchronizes his breathing, his grunts and teeth gritting with his own hands on his horns. But that will only take him so far. His elbow hits the wall, and the sudden unintentional pain brings him to a gasping whimper. He is in no place to think of what he is doing, but he knows how he is. His tail thrashes, and his mind swings. He huffs and lowers his head. With a stomp forward, squarely in the middle of his bed, Asterion thunks his horns to the wall and sinks in. He jerks his head to the left. He tugs off a chunk of the drywall. His head whips back to the right, another dent. He throws himself to the wall, bunches and tearing the wallpaper and buckling cracks into the plaster. When his head meets a corner, he sobs. His eyes are dry, but his throat cuts the silence as he cranes his neck up, taking another chunk of drywall with it. He slams his head sideways against the studs of the wall and of wood and metal until they are gnarled. Dust and debris spew into the room, but the Minotaur has his eyes closed tight. The dust drifts in the lamppost and amplifies the shadows cast by the bull, slamming himself against whatever is present. Horn marks litter the walls. A drawer in a cabinet that caught a tip got slammed into until the wood splintered against his scalp. One hand holds his throat, and the other clenches his stomach. He huffs and coughs on the dust and opens his eyes. His blank expression sinks. He kicks a fallen piece of wall as hard as he can. That is enough to bring him a piece of himself. A piece enough. He hums, commanding the hotel back into shape, rebuilding the wall with his voice. His horns again led him, though. The Minotaur tears walls down before he ever finishes repairing. Debris snows over him, yet fades away before hitting the ground. He rushes the wall harder and harder, crunching the plaster of the drywall with his horns, and going further, so the scraps scratch his head. That's what that says. Again and again, he runs and strikes the wall, and then everything. He closes his eyes in meditation, as the delay fades away from his mind, slumping to the floor. The same as he does as he feels a bruise begin in the center of his cranium. He lets himself lay on the floor, nose dragged along the floor. He breathes deeply without concentration. The bull wants to say something but does not. The lead ball in the middle of his brain is gone, and nothing replacing it. When the Minotaur opens his eyes and finds himself fixed to the present, as alive as he could ever manage to be, his humming takes a sudden upturn and ceases. He brushes the dust from his head and clothes, while checking the room, making sure it is all repaired, and finds it clean and ordered. Aside from the dust snowing from his fur and the disheveled bed, he stirs its sheets still with a hoof print. The Minotaur walks back into the labyrinth, nursing his fingers to his mouth. Okay, I think we'll end the part here, so I'll see you around, everyone.